The World Cup debate nobody expected. The 2026 FIFA World Cup was designed to be remembered as the tournament that changed football forever. With 48 teams participating for the first time in history, FIFA promised a bigger, more inclusive competition that would give more nations the opportunity to experience football's biggest stage. Millions of fans around the world were focused on the matches, the goals, and the drama on the pitch. However, during the opening phase of the tournament, a different story suddenly captured international attention. It was not a stunning upset. It was not a controversial refereeing decision. And it was not a last-minute winner. Instead, the discussion centered on comments linked to one of football's most influential administrators. Those remarks triggered reactions from multiple football federations and quickly became one of the biggest off-field stories of the tournament. The controversy reopened a debate that many believed had already been settled years earlier. Was expanding the World Cup from 32 teams to 48 teams the right decision? To understand why the issue became so important, we need to go back to the origins of the expansion itself. For decades, qualifying for the FIFA World Cup was one of the most difficult achievements in international football. Countries spent years preparing for qualification campaigns. Yet many talented teams never reached the tournament because the number of available places was limited. Supporters of expansion argued that football had become a truly global sport and that more countries deserved a chance to participate. They believed the World Cup should reflect football's worldwide popularity rather than being dominated by a relatively small group of nations. Under the new format, more teams from Africa, Asia, North America, the Caribbean, and other regions would have access to qualification spots. For many developing football nations, this represented a historic opportunity. A clash of two visions. As the debate surrounding the expanded World Cup continued to grow, it became clear that this was no longer simply a discussion about football matches. The argument had evolved into something much larger, a disagreement about the future of the game itself. For decades, European football has been viewed as the sport's most powerful force. The biggest clubs, the largest television audiences, the richest leagues, and many of the world's most famous players have traditionally been based in Europe. Because of this influence, European football organizations often play a major role in shaping global football conversations. However, football's popularity has never been limited to one continent. Across Africa, Asia, North America, the Caribbean, South America, and Oceania, millions of supporters live and breathe the sport every day. In many countries, football is more than entertainment. It is part of national identity. This is one reason why the World Cup holds such special significance. Unlike club football, where financial resources often determine success, international football gives nations an opportunity to compete on equal terms. A country with a relatively small population can dream of achieving something extraordinary. That dream became more realistic when FIFA expanded the tournament. For years, many football federations argued that qualification opportunities were distributed unfairly. Certain regions had fewer available places despite having large populations and growing football cultures. The expansion was intended to address those concerns. Supporters believed that increasing participation would help football develop in regions that historically struggled to reach the World Cup. Critics, however, remained skeptical. They argued that international tournaments should prioritize quality above all else. From their perspective, simply increasing the number of teams did not automatically improve the competition. Instead, the real test of the 48-team World Cup. As the tournament progressed, the discussion surrounding the expanded World Cup became impossible to ignore. Every match, every result, and every attendance figure seemed to be examined through the lens of a much larger argument. Was the new format working? Supporters believed the answer was yes. Critics were far less convinced. The truth, as often happens in football, was somewhere in between. One of the biggest concerns raised before the tournament involved competitive balance. Opponents of expansion feared that increasing the number of teams would lead to more one-sided matches. During the early stages of the competition, There were indeed several heavy defeats. Whenever a football powerhouse faced a debut nation, differences in experience, squad depth, and resources often became visible. Critics quickly pointed to these results as proof that the tournament had expanded too far. According to their argument, the World Cup should feature only the strongest national teams in the world. Anything else, they claimed, risked reducing the overall standard of competition. However, supporters of expansion viewed the situation differently. They argued that scorelines alone never tell the complete story. Football history is filled with examples of teams that initially struggled before eventually becoming competitive on the global stage. Every established football nation was once an outsider. Every football giant had to start somewhere. Without opportunities to compete against elite opposition, developing nations would never gain the experience necessary to improve. This perspective focused less on short-term results and more on long-term development. For many smaller countries, simply reaching the World Cup created benefits that extended far beyond the tournament itself. National federations often receive increased investment. Young players gain inspiration. Local leagues attract greater attention. FIFA, the future of the World Cup. As the 2026 FIFA World Cup continued, one thing became increasingly clear. The debate surrounding the tournament was no longer just about the number of teams participating. It had evolved into a discussion about the future direction of international football itself. The expanded World Cup had become a symbol of two competing ideas. One vision focused on maintaining the highest possible level of competition. Supporters of this approach believe the World Cup should remain an exclusive tournament featuring only the strongest national teams. They argued that elite competition creates the drama, quality, and prestige that have made the tournament famous throughout history. The second vision focused on opportunity and inclusion. Supporters of expansion believed football's greatest strength lies in its global nature. They argued that more countries deserve the chance to experience the World Cup and that limiting participation prevents the sport from reaching its full potential. Both perspectives carried weight. Both were supported by passionate football fans. And throughout the tournament, evidence appeared that seemed to support each side at different moments. Some matches were highly competitive and unforgettable. Others were more one-sided. Some debut nations exceeded expectations. Others struggled against experienced opponents. The reality proved far more complex than either side had predicted. Perhaps that should not have been surprising. Football has always resisted simple explanations. It is a sport filled with emotion, unpredictability, and human stories. No tournament format can completely guarantee excitement. No structure can eliminate disappointing matches. Even previous World Cups featuring 32 teams produced cautious games, low-scoring draws, and forgettable performances. Likewise, expansion did not automatically eliminate quality. Many new participants demonstrated determination, skill, and resilience.